and read the building background of this. Ulysses, that might sound familiar from your freshman year when you did the Odyssey, I believe. Okay. Have you ever thought about what happens to these heroes when they get older? You know, what's the next chapter, the next story, the next era of their life? I think of that with regards to sports people sometimes. Football players tend to not play very long because of the impact that their body goes through. And so some of them retire in their 20s because of injury, concussions, whatever, maybe in the early 30s. If they live a full life, they have another 50 years, 35 to 50 years. What's that going to be for them? A lot of them are broke and have no idea how to, go about living and such, and that's, those are tragedies and such. But what about these heroes, these wonderful examples of heroics that you guys read about in the Odyssey as freshmen? When we talked about Beowulf, we actually got to see, not just his heroics as a young man with Grendel and so on, but we got to see, and I think that was 50 years in the future too. Hope I'm not just making that up, but it was considerable time had passed and they had all that peace. We got to see him as an old person. And we saw him in peacetime. And he had no opportunity to be heroic until that dragon showed up again. Does this all sound familiar? I know it was several months ago. Okay, but here we have an individual who is now king. Okay, and Ulysses is, for lack of a better term, he bored. Okay, that adventurer who had to go and have all of these adventures, and now all of a sudden you're sitting on a throne. Can you imagine how bored you would be? There's a line in the movie, Vin Diesel movie, in Samuel L. Jackson's Triple X. He's like an action star, and then they recruit him to be a undercover agent, lack of a better term, and they're pretty much blackmailing him to actually participate because he's, so much, I'm such a loner, I'm not helping you coppers, all that stuff. And, Samuel L. Jackson goes, you know what, have you ever been to the zoo? You ever looked at, into the eyes of the lions? You can tell which ones, are being captive. The ones that were captured in the wild and now stuck in a cage. You can see it in their eyes. You can see them, how they're eventually giving up, but that they're raging, and dying, in essence. And then that was to push this guy because he was going to go to jail and rot in jail, and so that eventually got him to come out and fight. But here we have a king who just has nothing anymore. He has a son. Towards the end, we're going to see how he has a plan to kind of have one last adventure. Okay? So it's very short. It's about 4 minutes long. So follow along, please.
Ulysses, by Alfred Lord Tennyson. It little profits that an idle king by this still hearth, among these barren crags, matched with an aged wife, I mete and dole unequal laws unto a savage race that hoard and sleep and feed, and know not me. I cannot rest from travel. I will drink life to the lees. All times I have enjoyed greatly, have suffered greatly, both with those that loved me and alone, on shore, and when through scudding drifts the rainy Hyades vex the dim sea. I am become a name, for always roaming with a hungry heart, much have I seen and known, cities of men and manners, climates, councils, governments, myself not least, but honored of them all, and drunk delight of battle with my peers far on the ringing plains of windy Troy. I am a part of all that I have met, yet all experience is an arch wherethrough gleams that untraveled world, whose margin fades forever and forever when I move. How dull it is to pause, to make an end, to rust unburnished, not to shine in use, as though to breathe were life. Life piled on life were all too little, and of one to me little remains. But every hour is saved from that eternal silence, something more, a bringer of new things. And vile it were for some 3 suns to store and hoard myself, and this grey spirit yearning in desire to follow knowledge like a sinking star, beyond the utmost bound of human thought. This is my son, mine own Telemachus, to whom I leave the scepter and the isle. Well loved of me, discerning to fulfill this labor by slow prudence to make mild a rugged people, and through soft degrees subdue them to the useful and the good. Most blameless is he, centered in the sphere of common duties, decent not to fail in offices of tenderness, and pay meet adoration to my household gods when I am gone. He works his work, I mine. There lies the port, the vessel puffs her sail. There gloom the dark broad seas. My mariners, souls that have toiled and wrought and thought with me, that ever with a frolic welcome took the thunder and the sunshine, and opposed free hearts, free foreheads. You and I are old. Old age hath yet his honor and his toil. Death closes all, but something ere the end, some work of noble note may yet be done, not unbecoming men that strove with gods. The lights begin to twinkle from the rocks. The long day wanes. The slow moon climbs. The deep moans round with many voices. Come, my friends, 'tis not too late to seek a newer world. Push off, and sitting well in order, smite the sounding furrows, for my purpose holds to sail beyond the sunset, and the baths of all the western stars, until I die. It may be that the gulfs will wash us down. It may be we shall touch the happy isles and see the great Achilles, whom we knew. Though much is taken, much abides. And though we are not now that strength which in old days moved earth and heaven, that which we are, we are. One equal temper of heroic hearts, made weak by time and fate, but strong in will to strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield.
So we have that hero, that one who's longing to go out and do anything, really, but not sit here. He talks about on page 15 that the first line, it little profits that an idle king. Little profits, a king to be idle, it doesn't profit. It's not usually a really good thing, and so on. Which is a nice first line. Talks about roaming, line 13 or so, that he has become a name. He ceases to be the man, the hero. He's just kind of a name, a legend. He doesn't feel like he's doing anything. So I want you to be able to understand the frustration, maybe the angst that he has building up. On page 933, talking about, that he had drunk delight of battle with my peers, far on the ringing plains of windy Troy. You've heard of the Battle of Troy, right? Not only a movie, but, he thinks back on that. I am part of all that I have met, yet all experience is an arch wherethrough gleams that untraveled world. So even though he's had all of those things, he can look through an arch and just see the untraveled world, the adventures that he has yet to have. And he's getting really old, so he probably won't have them since he's sitting back here doing nothing. Talking about that, how dull is it to pause and to make an end, to rust unburnished, not to shine in use. And so I'm just sitting here rusting from age instead of shining in battle. Even if you have a sword, that could rust over time. You would rather have it rusting from use than rusting from not doing anything. Do we see these things adding up? This plus this equals frustrated and bored. Okay? He has an idea to have his son Telemachus take over. Well, I'm going to go away. I'm going. This is my son. Mine own Telemachus, to whom I leave the scepter and the isle. So he's going to be in control. The last line of that stanza, he works his work and I mine. He's fully capable to lead you, to do what needs to be done. He's going to do his work and I've got to do mine. I've got to live. I've got to do things. Line 45, my mariners, souls that have toiled and wrought and thought with me. A few lines down, you and I are old. Old age hath yet his honor and his toil. So just because you're old doesn't mean that you can't go out and, do wondrous wondrous things. On page 934, just to wrap it up, he goes, "Come, my friends, 'tis not too late to seek a newer world." Don't stop. Don't stop. The last few lines. "One equal temper of heroic hearts. We are made weak by time and fate, but strong in will to strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield." Don't give up. Don't sit back and do anything. We're going to have one more gathering, one more fight, one more adventure. And that's really ultimately what they want. Because not only is he alone, but those people that follow with him and travel with him. You think they want to sit around and drink and do nothing? These are adventurers. They want to get together and go and fight. Or just live. Because they're not living. They want to open up that cage door and let that lion spring out, is ultimately what's going to do. And so they may not return, and they fully understand that. But they're fine with it, because they are living one more time. Okay?